Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
I emit a low-amp electrical wang pulse designed to drive women wild with pleasure.
Ugh. Stop! You're gonna make me puke.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. It is December 2025. It is December in the stars. All of our movies this month here on the main feed and over on the Pint Insider on Patreon take place predominantly in outer space. My name is John.
Hi, I'm Stu.
This is Patrick.
And we're here to talk to you about something different than Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, which is what the three of us last discussed back in summertime 1990s. We're going to talk to you about just a real oddball movie. And I will 100% say that Patrick kind of inspires me whenever I have him on to dig into these oddball movies that Cellar Dweller and stuff like that. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about 1996's, 1997's, 1999's Space Truckers.
Hey! Fire it up! 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 Fire it up!
Stu, I love when I hit you up to do things and you go, fucking The Pint, making me do Space Truckers. And, so you jumped in on this episode with us. I know the answer, but I want to hear it. Was this at any point in your life on your radar at all? Had you ever even heard of this film?
No, I've certainly never heard of Space Truckers before. This was all brand new to me. You brought it to my attention. You said it was on Prime, and then I committed to recording with you, and then I completely forgot that I was going to. And today you reminded me that we were going to do this episode tonight. So I watched it after work. I finished it like 20 minutes ago. Okay. So it should be fresh in my brain, but it won't be for reasons that I'll get into later. But it should be fresh.
I think I'd be about a half hour.
Yeah, but no, I'd never heard of this movie before. If I'd ever heard of it, it went in one ear and out the other.
All right, Patrick, you, I did make the joke, but it is true. You're a man after my own heart with stuff from the 80s that was like the Empire films and Full Moon and kind of all these lowish budget sci-fi horror fantasy things that kind of, you found in the video store. And yes, this is in the late 90s, so it's a little bit after the heyday. How familiar were you with Space Truckers?
So I want to say I'm not a total cretin. I do realize that there's a lower quality to these films, but I don't know, something about the imagination when they're working with minuscule budgets, that what they manage to get out of it, I find interesting. I find them worth watching. This kind of movie. Space Truckers is an odd one. I may have seen it when it was on. I don't have any positive memory of seeing it. I definitely saw bits of it. I saw one particular scene we'll mention later on that stuck in my brain. I remember seeing commercials for it on HBO, and I'm wondering, what is this movie? This is Dennis Hopper. Why didn't this get a theatrical release? Because I looked around and it just came out of nowhere, and it wasn't advertised by HBO, so it was kind of something they bought and dumped. So I didn't really have a strong memory of it. But I like Stuart Gordon. I like his sci-fi stuff even, I don't know, better, but as much as his horror stuff, because he did various other sci-fi movies, and I was looking forward to watching it. So,
all right, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about Space Truckers. It's on Amazon Prime, as we mentioned. If you want to watch this, you can check it out if you're a member of Amazon Prime, it's free, I guess. So, release date, the October 1996 release date appears to be from the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Sitges, Sitges Film Festival in Spain. And then in April of 1997, it looks like it was dropped in the U.S. possibly direct to video or on HBO. This movie is, in Pint history, really tough to nail any real specifics on. It's almost like, the records have been like just totally destroyed on it. It did have a $25 million budget, which is a lot higher than I would have thought, but $25 million. This was directed and co-story written by, as Patrick mentioned, Stuart Gordon. You might know him from, he wrote the story for a pretty big Disney film back in the 80s, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. This is the guy that wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And he was the writer and director on a film that I thought was Cellar Dweller way back in the day when me and Patrick did this, that movie earlier in the year, Castle Freak. So Castle Freak is not Cellar Dweller, and Cellar Dweller is not Castle Freak. But most notably, he's known as the adapter, the writer who adapted and directed Reanimator and From Beyond. So a couple of pretty big horror films that are pretty well known right there. His co-story writer and the screenplay writer, the sole screenplay writer, was a guy named Ted Mann. Ted Mann passed away 2 months ago. So rip Ted Mann at the age of 72. He was the editor in the early 70s of National Lampoon, the famed Harvard magazine / periodical. And he also was a staff writer for several years on Deadwood, the great HBO Western, and the X-Files lesser known cousin Millennium with Lance Henriksen. He was a staff writer on that. This was filmed in Ireland to take advantage of all kinds of Irish tax credits. And again, not being able to read up too much on this because there's not much out there. Apparently, there was an Irish producer who had promised the production a certain amount of money. I think it was like $10 million. And then when they finally were about to produce this film, he actually only had like 5. So there was all kinds of problems getting that together. Filmed in Ardmore Studios in County Wicklow, Ireland. And some of the filming was done in Dublin. And they filmed with an entirely Irish crew as well. Apparently the working title of this film was Irish Space Movie, which, again, I read that. If that's true, I think that's pretty fucking funny. Patrick, you always do a great amount of research, so I will ask, is there anything production-wise that I did not mention that is juicy or important?
Gordon, he did a movie a couple of years before this called Fortress.
Yeah, that's where he got the money, right? Yeah.
Which, strangely enough, I didn't know this, looking it up, it was a rather big international hit. It made like $60 million or something, which is crazy, you know.
Yeah, I've never seen that, but I was very aware of that movie.
It came out here and did not much, but it was a very big hit overseas. So he had some clout, and he said he always wanted to make a Star Wars movie, but one that was realistic. So I don't know how he got from that mission statement to what came out, but I guess because they used the magnetic boots in the movie. So,
and the square pegs, yeah.
Yeah. Ted Mann, some of the shows he did, he worked on Wise Guy, which is kind of forgotten, but at the time was very well acclaimed.
What was that guy's name? Ken, the lead actor in that was...
Ken Wall,
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then Miami Vice as well. And also Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. So you can see like a real through line between that guy's career, what he worked on. And then he got involved with Deadwood because he worked with David Milch on NYPD Blue. That's where he became like a writer-producer.
Okay.
The DP was Mac Alberg, who basically shot almost all Gordon's movies. And the music was done by a guy named Colin Towns, who was famous for working with Deep Purple, which is one of those bands I always hear about, but I've never actually listened to. And I do know that they got money to shoot in Ireland, but the condition from their studio was they had to do all the effects in London.
I did read that. Yeah, they had to bring everybody there, right, to build like a facility to do the effects there. Yeah.
So I don't know if Gordon was hands-on for the effects stuff because some of it's kind of shaky.
Yeah.
The visual stuff. So, but otherwise, you know, I don't think it was a particularly controversial shoot. I think it was meant to be kind of a relatively mid-sized budget European film and just never came out here. So,
all right. Well, that's the production there. Patrick, take it away with the cast.
Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
Okay. So our leading man is Dennis Hopper, which is what really kind of perked my interest when I first became aware of this movie, because he had been washed up. He had been washed up for a long time, but his career comeback was well established. He got the Oscar nomination for Hoosiers. He was in Blue Velvet. He was in Speed. He just came off of Waterworld, which, yes, it's a famous debacle, but it's a very high-profile film. And then to accept this kind of movie, the best info I've read is that he just wanted to play a good guy, and the script came his way, and he liked it, so that's why he signed on. He's also one of my favorite movies as a child, My Science Project from 1985.
I have not seen that since I was a kid, but yeah.
Very difficult to find now. I had to watch it on Daily Motion a couple months ago.
At one point when we were going to do, maybe when we did the 80s episodes a few months ago, I had that on my short list and I eliminated it because it's impossible to find.
Yeah,
it's
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So he'd done a series. Also, he was a villain in Red Rock West. Is an excellent movie with Nicolas Cage, kind of a noir movie. Boiling Point. He was the bad guy with Wesley Snipes as the hero. And he just was that he was sick of it, and he liked the fact that this was a positive character. That's why he agreed to do it. By all accounts, he was a total pro on the set, even with some of the ridiculous mutant pig scenes, I guess. And because he signed on, Stephen Dorff agreed to be on. He wanted to work with Dennis Hopper. Stephen Dorff
is the epitome of class and high level acting. So you don't just get Stephen Dorff for nothing.
Yeah.
You got to bring in superb acting talent if you're going to surround him with Stephen Dorff.
I want to go to bat for Stephen Dorff. I think he's a good actor with not great judgment sometimes of already picks. But he had a solid record in the 90s. He had been in stuff like Backbeat, Judgment Night. He had this movie SFW, which was briefly popular, I think. To be honest, all I can think about in this movie is his name is Pucci.
Yeah, he has an Italian last name in space.
That he didn't actually die on his way back to his home. We have Debbie Mazur as the girlfriend waitress Cindy, off her triumphant role as Spice in Batman Forever. She had been famous basically for being Madonna's BFF. She did Madonna's makeup and showed up in 5 of her videos, and then segued into doing stage work and TV episodes of a show called Civil Wars. And then she was in Goodfellas as one of Ray Liotta's mistresses, The Doors, Malcolm X. She also spent a few years, air quotes, dating Paul Rubens, and later in the documentary that just came out, Paul Rubens admitted that was just a cover for him.
Right.
They were just close friends. So we get to my favorite character in the movie, Charles Dance, playing a dual role of scientist Dr. Nabel and then Captain Macanudo, who I just started saying Menudo in my head. He had a very long career on stage and screen. He dipped his toes in Hollywood waters for Golden Child in the mid-'80s.
Brother Noomsy.
I think, yes. And then he didn't really start being a Hollywood fixture till Alien 3, I think, and then he was in Last Action Hero. Apparently, he just ran into Stuart Gordon in a hotel lobby in Ireland. They struck up a conversation, and Gordon talked about this movie he's working on, and he goes, "What's the script?" And he read it, and he found it entertaining. I don't think he ever said it was a good script. He said it was an entertaining script.
He said it was. I read that because they fired the first guy who was playing that role.
Yeah, who was over the top. And
they said he was too over the top for a character that has a pull start dick. He was too over the top.
but Stan said, "You know what? This looks really fun, and I want to play. I would be in a completely ridiculous role and play him completely straight." And I think he succeeds. Actually, he's not crazy in this, even though he could be if he wanted to. And then George Wendt as Norm. Basically, you could say his name. His name's Keller, but Norm. Just whenever you see George Wendt, he's Norm. He was star of Cheers, of course, Dreamscape, Cheers, House, with William Katt in 1985, Cheers, Gung Ho, Cheers, Fletch, and also Cheers.
He guested on a few episodes of Frasier too, because he was on.
Yes, and he was also on Wings, I think, once.
Yeah.
Vernon Wells as you're getting old, John. Mr. Cut, the pirate and fashion victim, who's like his second in command on the pirate ship. He was in Road Warrior, Commando, Weird Science, Inner Space. Shane Rimmer.
Yeah, I saw that. Unfortunate last name. Yeah.
And he plays a character named Sags.
Yeah.
Which also makes me laugh. Who's the evil CEO.
One of the classic WWF tag teams from the 80s was the Nasty Boys, and one of them was Sags. It was Knobs and Sags, and every time they said Sags, I just thought of the Nasty Boys from WWF.
I do remember them. They were around when I watched wrestling.
Anyone with a last name which is a verb is just not a good person. So he's the evil CEO who becomes the president, as if that could ever happen. And his career he was known as the Rent-A-Yank, which is not what you think it means. It means he's an American who specialized in playing the American in British TV shows and movies.
Oh, okay.
So he did a whole bunch of roles as like the kind of the swaggering American character in a British production. I think his biggest known role was he was the voice in the Thunderbirds, that super marionation show.
Yeah.
Whatever. Someone with the name of Birdie Sweeney, oh boy, played Mr. Zesty, the underground commissioner of black market runs, I guess.
I was trying to determine if Mr. Zesty, the actor, was a woman or a man.
I think he was just either playing cross-dresser or just it's the future and...
But was it a man, or is the actor a man or a woman?
No, it was a man.
Okay, because I was I thought it was an old lady. Yeah,
I definitely thought it was a woman playing that role. Okay.
Now you're making me question. I got to check this just real quick. I'm 99% sure it's a man, though.
Are you reaching under Mr. Birdie's skirt right now, Patrick, and
That's
checking?
Right, yeah, just turn your head and cough.
Check his sags.
He was famous for being an Irish comedian and TV star. He probably just answered an open call or something, because I think maybe they had to have a certain percentage of Irish talent in order to make those tax breaks. Finally, Barbara Crampton, one of my all-time favorites, shows up in the very end in a glorified cameo. She had worked with Stuart Gordon, of course, on Reanimator from Beyond, Castle Freak, just before this. So,
yeah, she's always a sight for sore eyes. I like. We just did Chopping Mall, and she's in that, and there was the one time, we've told the story before, but at Connecticut Horror Fest where she was sniffing around our podcast table because I'm pretty sure she thought Lloyd was hot. She was pretending to be interested in what we were doing, but it had nothing to do with us. It had to do with the Manster. All right, so that's the cast.
Can we talk about something real fast?
Sure.
Are there any actors in Hollywood that maybe have little to nothing in common, but you get them mixed up in your head for some reason? Because I don't know why. They don't look alike. They have nothing in common. They're like the same age. That is it. But in my head, there is always like a second I have to take when Dennis Hopper and Gene Hackman are in a movie where I'm like, which one is this?
Well, don't watch Hoosiers.
Yeah. I don't have that problem because Gene Hackman looked like he was about a foot taller.
Well, yeah, but I mean, are there any actors like that where like there's two actors that maybe you just irrationally get mixed up in your head? And I can't explain nothing in common between Hackman and Hopper. I don't know why. I guess their last names start with H, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know why it is.
For me, when I was younger, it was three actors who I guess were around the same age, who didn't really look alike, but often played the same kind of roles. Dylan McDermott, Dermot Mulroney, and D.B. Sweeney.
Yeah, I see that.
Somewhat similar, and I think they may have, I don't know if they've ever all three been in the same movie, but the two of them have definitely been in movies at various points. But I would always mix those guys up.
Laura and Vinny and I often go to, every month we go to trivia at Best Video in Hamden, Connecticut. And one of the hardest categories ever, they always do a 50-50. It's just, like one they did was, did the dog live or die in the movie? And you have to remember, did it live or die? One of the hardest categories ever, and this is like a year and a half ago, was Dermot Mulroney or Dylan McDermott. And they would say the name of a movie, and you had to remember which one of those two identical motherfuckers was in that movie. So yeah, I get that. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
There was this old sketch comedy show where they I guess it was a thing that Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton were often confused. I don't think they're similar at all, but somebody names, was like
the name,
and it was something like their safe word was Bill Pullman when they were experimenting, and the guy was trying to call it out, but he was like, oh God, he was in Aliens. I don't stop hitting me. And I didn't think movies was mixing two characters up.
I'm gonna think about that, Stu, for the end of the show, because I'm sure there's somebody that I go, oh yeah, okay, it's not him, it's him. All right, so let's get into Space Truckers. We start off with I guess we're on a space station of some sort, and we have the Sags character who, I don't know, he's an evil boss. They don't really ever explain like what he is or who they work for. The Planetary Union. Patrick, did I miss who?
The company as well. All I heard. I didn't even hear the name of the company. He's just the CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels very alien because they keep referring to it as the company. Yeah.
And him and Charles Dance's character, what was the neighbor?
Dr. Nabel.
Dr. Nabel, are running what turns out to be a test. But am I right in figuring that they wasted a bunch of their own men during this test?
It was a live fire test where they were within feet of being blasted by high velocity machine guns.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was weird because why would you do that?
It very much feels like the beginning of Star Wars, where all of the rebel blockade soldiers are lining up in the halls and, you know, pointing their guns at the door, and then all of a sudden the door starts to flame open. I think they were going for that there, because you get all these soldiers and their shields and their laser guns, and they're all taking a defensive formation, and we have this door that suddenly starts to just rip apart in the middle. And Patrick, what comes through that door?
It looks like it's got the head of like an extension cord outlet. It's got like the three lights, you know, and it just eviscerates these guys, just blasts them.
So apparently, one of the biggest things that they could not afford in this movie was to repeatedly show the beam and the effect that they wanted to have with the beam, which was, they said, supposed to be like the shimmery water alien from the abyss. So it would shoot, you would see the target, and then it would like kind of bend the reality around it, and then it would kind of, the target would explode, and they couldn't afford to do that. That's why in 90% of the shots where the beam goes off, you just hear the sound. It's like the Chainsaw Massacre flashbulb, kind of a, and then you just see decimation from behind, very blocked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But so this thing comes in and just.
John, what do I have to do to make you make that sound more?
You want me to do it again?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I'm picturing that in my head. That is very close to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sound. Yes, that's good.
That's what I thought of when I heard it. I'm like, oh, is that sound? It lays waste to all of these people, but luckily for the people that are in charge, it just like a garage remote control.
Yeah, just a clicker. Just
clicker shuts it down. Stu, Sags and Nabel then have a conversation that doesn't go great for Nabel. What happens?
So Sags has determined, well, he wants to know how many of these there are, and Nabel tells him there are 5,000 of them, because he's like, with 100 of these, we could take over the planet. And Nabel says there's 5,000 of them. And so Sags is like, all right, awesome. We're going to get these things to Earth somehow, because they're on a moon of Neptune.
Yeah.
They're on Triton.
Right.
Yes, yeah. The largest moon of Neptune. They're going to get these 5,000 disintegrator bots to Earth. They're going to use them to conquer the Earth. But Sags is like, I need plausible deniability, and you cost me my deniability. So he turns the robot around on Nabel, because Nabel tells him, he's like, oh, by the way, I put your voice record in control of these things so you can tell them what to do. So he turns it around on Nabel and has the Assaultron. The Assaultron, that's right, because I keep thinking these things look like the Fallout robots, the Assaultrons. So that's what I kept calling them in my head, the Assaultrons. He has them blow away Nabel.
Yeah, Nabel gets decimated, and then the movie.
Well, it's misleading because it freeze frames, and you think Nabel's dead. That's what we're meant to think, I guess.
Well, I said he gets decimated, which he does. We learn that things might not look the way they look, but yes, freeze frames, and then all of a sudden we're out in the highways of space, and Dennis Hopper is driving his truck, which is a spaceship, space truckers, through the pylons, the lighted pylons that form lanes out there in space. He's eating a hot dog, which I've never seen someone eat a hot dog this way before. You know, he's holding the hot dog. The mustard is floating in 0 G's. He squeezes out a little bit of mustard, and we get this kind of not great effect of him lifting up the hot dog until the mustard lands on the dog, and he's eating it and listening to old school country music that truckers would listen to about life on the open road. He gets up before he docks with the space station where he's going to drop off his load. The space trucks with their loads kind of look like trains, right? Did you agree? It looked like a train?
Yes. Yeah, it seemed more like space trains conductors than space truckers.
Okay, I felt the same way. So he gets up, he goes to check on his load, and we see that his load...
Keep saying load, John. It's really working out for
you like
Patrick
that?
and I.
Sorry, there's that noise again.
I had to edit my notes and just put cargo and
Cargo.
haul.
All right.
I was giggling too much. Yeah.
He goes to check on his cargo, aka load, and it's square pigs. We see it right on the side of the
Big cubes.
of the cubes. Interpork is the company. I love that. He opens up one of the cubes and we see exactly what you think a square pig would be. It's a pig and it's square. I know they do that, I think, in Japan with watermelons for stackability reasons. So maybe that's why these pigs are square. He then horrifyingly feeds one of them a hot dog, which it is a hot dog. Two things about that I felt really weird. So he opens up one of the cubes and there's multiple pigs there. He feeds one of them a hot dog, which is cannibalism, but he only feeds one of them.
Wait,
those
are you
other
suggesting that there's pork in hot dogs?
I'm suggesting that there might be pork in hot dogs, pork lips, pork assholes. So he's about to dock with Interpork and their main facility. Patrick, what happens when he lands and has a conversation with Norm from Cheers, aka Keller?
Predictably, they try to stiff him on his agreed upon fee because he was late. So they get into a fight with between. His name is John Canyon, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that. That's the
John Canyon. Yes,
that's not his name. He gets in a fight with a corporate flunky and very believably punches him and sends him flying, ass over tea kettle against the wall, knocks out one of his teeth. But
another great effect.
Yeah. You can see the wires very visibly. I'm sorry to say. I defend these kind of movies, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
I do like the line though where he says, "This is how you throw a punch in 0G." Like, I like that. Like, he knows enough about it. But yeah,
I think there's some good dialogue in this. Honestly, I feel like Stu's cringing there, but I think there's some decent dialogue. But anyway, he gets stiffed. He says basically, "I'm not going to take 1,500 instead of 6,000." Then fine, take nothing. So he kind of wanders over to what I call the 2001 Discovery Diner.
The 2001 Discovery Diner, absolutely.
Which, unfortunately, I love the intent, but no matter what level on, they're all standing.
Right.
They're standing at the same angle. So, I mean, they would be standing perpendicular to the part of the floor they're on, but they're all standing as if they're on stairs. So
right.
It doesn't quite work, and that's where John meets with the waitress, who sort of is Flame, and the new guy, Mike Pucci.
Yeah, he's a little jealous of Mike Pucci because he's being served by Cindy. She's a diner waitress. She's desperate to get back to Earth because her mother is having some kind of like life-saving surgery, but she would have to work 1 million hours to be able to afford the credits to get back to Earth. That old space story we've all heard 1 million times. Debbie Mazar, by the way, I mean, it's not just in this movie, it's in real life. Her speaking voice is the perfect confluence of New York accent and lisp. She just has this thing going on. And she's also one of those women that I don't know if I think is attractive or not. Like, she's good looking, but then there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if she's good looking.
No, she's attractive.
Is she attractive?
She's attractive. Yeah, I think that's pretty objective. She has the same eyes as Evil Lynn from Masters of the Universe movie. I forget what the name of that actress is, but she's got the same like ice blue eyes as her.
Meg Foster. Sorry.
Meg Foster.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about her that I've always been like, am I attracted to Debbie Mazar? I mean, and she does spend a lot of this movie in like her skivvies, as does, if you're a fan of Stephen Dorff's body, you're in luck in a few minutes. So yeah. So he goes and we find out that a bunch of the other truckers kind of talk to John Canyon. One of their trucker compatriots has passed away, so there's going to be services soon. And Stu, what's the whole deal with their agreement to possibly get married?
Oh, yeah. Dennis Hopper's character, Canyon, has a big crush on Cindy, and he keeps proposing to her, and she keeps shooting him down. But at some point, she ultimately says, I'll tell you what, if you can get me to Earth, then I'll marry you once we're on Earth.
Right. This makes him very happy, and he wants to figure out a way to get her back to Earth. We end up going to the funeral and or wake for this other trucker that has passed away.
R.I.P. Ken.
And as they're there, this is the second time that we have another interaction with Keller and his goons. Patrick, how does this go?
Well, not too well for Norm.
No.
It's a big fight, spills out into the diner. Oh no, actually they're in the diner, and then Norm and his flunkies come in. Because Poochie has accepted the replacement gig to haul away the pig cubes.
Right.
And then he decides, kind of on a whim, no, he's got principles, man, and he's not going to do that. And so then a big fight breaks out. I don't remember who shoots. I guess it's one of the goons who shoots.
Yeah, one of the minions shoots out the window.
One of the minions, when they had the initial fight in the cargo area of Canyon's truck, pulls the gun out, and Keller is like, "You cannot shoot in here." Yeah. So this guy's just got a boner to shoot in space.
Just want to see what happens. Just want to try it. So he shoots the window. Norm gets basically sucked. He plugs the gap for a few seconds, and then his rectum gets prolapsed out into space, and he gets pulled out. It's kind of comical because they have the fake legs.
Yeah, put like Dorff on golf. Yeah,
make it look like he's literally being folded in half. And then one of my favorite little touches of the movie. Canyon leads the two of them to this secret public toilet gateway, I guess, to the lower levels of the space station.
I did like the fact that it has that woman.
There's a permanent robot in there that's like a woman with her pants down, like, "Get out of here! Oh, I'm offended." And then he just rips her head back and turns her off, and then the elevator takes them down. And then they meet Mr. Zesty. Sorry, I can't. Somebody take over. I can't say.
Mr. Zesty. Mr. Zesty offers them a job. Stu, what is the job?
The job is to take a giant load of cargo to Earth, but he won't give them any information on it other than the manifest seems to imply that it's a bunch of sex robots or sex toys or something.
Yeah. Stu said load and cargo in that sentence. I just want to point that out. So they've got to go. They've got to get off of this space station. Obviously they're being looked after, by the authorities on the space station. The Canyon lost his haul, and Poochie, who did have a case of the all of a sudden integrity, still is like, "Hey, look, I'm your partner. We're in this together because, you lost me my job with the corporation. So let's go." So they get back into Canyon's ship. They pick up this haul of sex dolls, and they take off, trucking off into space. As they're trucking through space, they end up eventually in, I think it's a pretty cool scene, coming across the space equivalent of black ice. It's black asteroid rocks, which they don't see coming because these things are shadowed. And the truck ends up getting rocked pretty well to the point where the cooling system gets damaged, Patrick, which means what do they have to do to not burn up?
Regrettably, they must shed their clothing.
But
that will buy them a few minutes, I guess, of more precious life.
Right.
But I mean, it's going to go up a couple hundred degrees, right? Is that what they said? I don't know why, because they're in space, but for some reason, it's going to get hotter when there's no.
Well, the cooling system is broken in the ship, so I guess the engine,
space being notoriously hot.
Yeah,
space is a cooling system. I mean,
anyway, I don't know.
You have to accept it. I guess that's the logic of the movie. So while John goes outside to try to make repairs, he sees that one of the cargo bins is loose or has been rammed into the cooling system. And when he tries to tamper with it, it's got these ridiculous defense systems that they should not have for sex robots. That's when he figures something is a little wrong. And then meanwhile, Poochie and Cindy immediately fall in love. But then she says, no. She feels bad. John's a good guy. It's obviously just a friendship that she's willing to put up with, a marriage of convenience, I guess. But she's really into Poochie. And then John comes back in. They quickly make like we just start taking our clothes off right now, this moment. So
right. He doesn't fix the cooling system though, right? They basically say we've only got a little bit of time left.
He can't, but he noticed something weird about the cargo pods, and that's why he came in. And they start getting drunk on, I had to write this down, Suck-a-Zuck's beer is the name of the brand.
Right.
Which he has in this like styrofoam container, so it's like nice and lukewarm, with no ice in there. And as they're getting hammered, this big ship with a comically large skull and bones spray painted on the outside, swoops towards them and swallows them up into the cargo hold.
Pirate ship, bitches. So the pirate ship swallows them up, and we get Wes from the Road Warrior coming down with his men, and they take Mike and John and Cindy out and tell them that they have basically been claimed by this Captain Macundo. Is that his name, Macundo?
Macanudo, but
Macanudo, okay.
For me, it's just Captain Menudo.
Captain Menudo. So we eventually meet Captain Menudo, or Captain Macundo, and it is the Dr. Nabel character from the beginning of the film. But Stu, he apparently survived that terrible, terrible death by doing what to himself?
He cyborged himself. He started replacing vast quantities of his own being with cybernetics.
Yeah, so he's got like half of a see-through Dayglow skull. When we finally get his shirt off, like half of his body is robotic.
Cyber butt cheeks.
Cyber butt
cheeks.
And
Yes.
what I call the pull cord chainsaw cyber dick.
Yeah. We pull cord chainsaw cyber dick, clamp hand, and now we go to so there's two things I found very interesting in this movie. Is that I would say 3/4 of the runtime, Debbie Mazar and Stephen Dorff are in their skivvies. And probably another half of that runtime, their arms are up in chains. They are up in chains for like 20 minutes in this movie, where it's just kind of all the goings on in this ship. And then we get hyper fixated on Captain Menudo and his need for a sexual mate. This movie takes a 15-minute detour. Patrick, explain this detour.
I will give Charles Dance credit. He really does not lean into it. He really is not chewing the scenery. He's playing it as straight as you can for this kind of character.
He's playing it as a guy who really misses the touch of a woman.
So he comes in and goes up to Cindy while is she chained up, I think?
She's chained up,
and immediately starts sniffing her sweaty body and clothing and pronounces it, quote, not altogether unpleasant.
Nobody has ever told him how to talk to a woman, yeah.
And then he threatens to cut off Poochie's dick, and then Cindy offers that she'll fuck him if the pirates let them all go. So the captain says, okay, that sounds like a good deal, and takes them back to his quarters. And he very kindly offers to let her drug herself while he does what he needs to get done.
Yeah.
It's so casually offered. And that's when he does the reveal and the undress. And also promises her she'll like it because his chainsaw cyberdick has an electric blaster that produces orgasms.
Yeah, and it's got a...
So he says.
It's got a rope pull cord like a 1985 fucking lawnmower too, which he spends the next like 3 or 4 minutes.
He spends an inordinate amount of time yanking that chain.
Yeah. You gotta wonder...
Performance anxiety. He hasn't been with a woman in a while. So.
He hasn't. You gotta wonder if Charles Dance, who, like you said, Patrick, like, kind of came more into prominence later in his career, Game of Thrones and some other things. You gotta wonder if he looks back on his decision to do this movie as something fun and just is like, my children have seen me pulling a yank cord from my penis in a movie.
I like to think if I came up to him somewhere and asked about this movie, he would just laugh and say, yeah, I had a lot of fun. I really do.
You hope that it's the Frank Langella Masters of the Universe effect, who loved...
Not that far. Frank Langella legitimately says Skeletor is one of his favorite performances of all time. Like,
as it should be. As it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is good. He's good. I mean, for what he's trying to do, he's great. 10 out of 10. But I don't know if Dance would cherish this role as much. Yeah. But I think he would have a sense of humor and say, yeah, we had a lot of fun. It was very silly.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
So, Stu, how does Cindy get out of this predicament of having to fuck Chainsaw Cyberdick Man?
Well, he has trouble getting his thing going, but I guess he does eventually get it going, and he jumps on top of her and he's pushing her down, and you're not sure if there's like 5 to 10 seconds where you're like, am I watching a rape scene? Is that what's happening? I don't know that I was expecting that out of this movie. But before it can get too gruesome or unpleasant or anything, she reaches back and he's got like Bane cables coming out of him with like venom or whatever. And she just pulls all those cables out and unplugs them. And then she grabs his clothing and his cigar and disguises herself as him to try and trick his minions into thinking like she's a solid foot smaller than this guy and you know, much thinner than he is, but she's going to pretend that he's him and go out and trick the minions without talking.
Pulling that plug immediately disassembles all of his parts. He's like literally lying on the ground. His arm is off. His, you know, other stuff is off. And then he immediately is able to reassemble himself with one hand and go out there and catch up with her when she's trying to pretend to be him.
He built himself from probably, you know, nothing on, you know,
Triton.
Triton, yeah.
It made me question the movie's believability.
Okay. Fair.
I was fine with the square pigs, but this is a bridge too far.
Yeah, exactly. It's so far and no further.
Well, she does manage to get the pirates to let Mike and John out of their manacles. So they're about to get out of there. But Patrick, all of a sudden, one of the assault bots shows up, right?
Yeah, well, what's his name comes back in. Like, she isn't quite able to get them free. He comes back in, right? The captain?
Yeah.
And
Before
then-
he gets before she tricks the minion into completely freeing them, he comes in and is like, stop.
And then John says, well, wait a minute. You don't kill us first. We got to see this. You know, there's something in these boxes. They're not sex dolls. And he's able to talk him into opening up the box. And then one of them comes out and basically starts kicking the shit out of the pirates. Hits him with dismemberment, hits him with disintegration, hits him with taekwondo, everything.
Yeah, these things are pretty fucking badass. I actually like the design of these things. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And not just the design of them fully assembled, but that whole bit where they're like in their fulfilled mode, hanging in that, I don't know what you would call it. They're broken down, I guess is a better way to put it, where it's just like kind of like the hip joints and then they kind of transform out from that. I thought that was all pretty cool. So yeah, this thing comes in and just smokes these fucking pirates. And at this point, am I right? John and them are able to get back on the space truck?
Yes, I think so. At this point.
And they somehow get the remote control from Captain Menudo. So I forget how that happens, but they get the remote control to shut them down from him.
Well, I think what happens was I just saw this 2 hours ago. What the fuck is wrong with me? I think they escape. The gravity gets deactivated on the ship, and all the pirates start getting sucked out of the open cargo hold. And then the ship basically is in automatic shut. It just somehow blows up, and we see that Captain Menudo is actually snuck onto the rig before it blew up.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He gives them like the Ash's head on a table. You'll never beat these things speech. But I think he hands them the clicker.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I had gotten mixed up. I thought they already had the clicker at that point, but you're right. That's how they get it.
Well,
he snuck on board and gives his little Shakespearean dying speech.
It makes sense to think that because when he's having sex or trying to have sex with Cindy, the clicker is around his neck and it's like on top of her. And she says to him at one point, like, what's this thing? And he says something about like, oh, that's just like one of my baubles or something. He dies. He has one last cigar. And he basically does, like he says, the Ash thing, you know, perfect organisms, you're fucked. And they end up taking off. Stu, what happens once they take off? I know that there's more mayhem with these fucking robots.
Yeah, the robots just start getting free. Dennis Hopper goes and he's trying to turn them all off, but he's like, they can't turn off when they're in their incubation mode. They have to be activated for him to be able to turn them off. I'm not sure how, but they all just start activating and coming after them, and Hopper just keeps turning them off.
I think what he says is once it starts, it just keeps going 1, then 2, then 4, then 8. Every wave is bigger than the last wave, and it's
right.
You can't stop that process. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, no, you're right. He does. He says that it's like exponentially they're going to just keep turning on, because we get a whole bit here where they come out through the hole into the ship. He turns one off and then another one shows up and turns the other off. So that's all happening there.
I And also, there's a part where two of them smash in through the cockpit windows.
Yes, kick the
But then
windows in.
they realize that the androids can't damage the ship because they can't damage their way to get to Earth. Their main priority is to get to Earth.
Right. But they also did mention earlier in the movie, back up a bit, when they were burning up because the cooling system was down, that there is an escape pod, but only 2 people could be on it at once. Why is it in every science fiction movie the escape
pods don't fit the entire crew?
That's just reality. Look at the Titanic. I mean, it's cheaper. It's cheaper, I guess.
Yeah, I know. But like the Titanic, like, I don't know what, 3,000 people on there. I'm making up a number. Alien, 7 people. The escape pod only holds 3. Like, when you get on that ship and like they tell you that, like, is there an escape pod on here? Yeah, it only takes 3 people, and you look around, you just count. Like what?
I don't think it's ever stated like this, but I think that it's probably like, usually it's a dystopian corporation or military. They don't want to make it easy for you to abandon their expensive ship. They want you to force you to stay there and fix whatever problem you were running into.
All right, that's fair. That
Maybe.
makes sense. That makes sense. So, the ship is damaged, and they now have to try to figure out how to escape. Poochie and Cindy are going to take the escape pod and try to get to like the closest station. Stu, what does John do? He's going to do what at this point?
He's going to stay behind. He's going to captain his ship, and he says, I'm going to drive it in through the atmosphere, and I'm going to burn these robots up as we go through re-entry. And Poochie says, no, you can't do that. It'll never last. And John says, it's my Pachyderm 2000. I know what she can handle.
Pachyderm 2000 with no upgrades. It's the basic model. Patrick, walk us through the end of this before Poochie and Cindy come back to save the day. How does that all come about?
Oh, well, John goes outside and did we already say did he basically lets her out of the engagement agreement?
Okay,
yes, that's true. Yeah, he's like, you two crazy kids run off together and get married. Yeah, the other thing we missed is when the disintegrator bots broke through the windshield of the space truck, they lost the controller, so they can't turn these things off anymore.
That's right. That is correct.
Right.
So at this point, their life pod basically just crashes into the desert, and they're okay. And then they're just watching, I guess, up in the upper atmosphere. He's burning off the cargo pods one by one, and then it looks like he dies, but then he manages to safely get out.
And he parachutes in with another great special effect.
Don't they save him with the engines from the pod at one point?
Oh, you know
Yes.
what? When he's outside, they do turn the life pod rear engine thrusters onto a couple of the droids
To blast some of the droids.
Like melted Dennis Hopper, I thought, but
well,
yeah, he's 5 feet away from the
He
droids, and
just-
these engines completely disintegrate the droids, but don't burn Dennis Hopper at all.
he turned to the left, so he's okay.
the droids are made from impenetrable vibranium. Meanwhile, Dennis Hopper is a 62-year-old sack of man, and he lives through it. Yeah.
And then there's a quick wrap up where they meet, and then they go to the hospital. Is that correct? Like real quick.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that Cindy's mom is actually, John had seen a picture of her as a boy. I see where you get your looks from. And it turns out she's actually been in cryonic preservation for 20 years from her whatever illness she had. And then they thawed her out and cured her. And so she's young and hot. And it works out because now he's single. It's like the gift of the Magi. You give something away and you get something back. and I mean, it's weird because I guess the assumption is that, well, she'll be my age, so it's more age appropriate. But no, she's still young. She's just as young as the daughter is.
That's what I thought. Is that
weird. Yeah.
she is she was frozen, but like technically age-wise, she's Hopper's age, but she's suspended animation, so she's younger. She's gorgeous. Like why? Oh yeah. Oh, the first thing I want to do when I wake up, as a 32-year-old, a hot 32-year-old after 20 years in cryonics is fuck a 62-year-old guy. No, fuck Steven Dorff,
But their happiness is short-lived because the dystopian fascist corporate police immediately move in to the hospital and take them away to CEO Sags, who's now President Sags. Off camera, there's been like a coup. They bought the government. I think they said they actually they privatized the entire government. And he took over.
Yeah.
And what was a weird moment is that the previous president was named Dopey, but I thought he said Dopey, which made me really. But Sags basically says, "Boy, we're all trying to find out who did this whole killer robot plan. I don't know anything about it, but here's some money and a new truck if you like, and then we could just agree that nothing, nobody in this room is responsible."
And John is very much like, go along with it because he knows that they're dealing with the government. But Mike, being a hot-headed young kid's like,
I got principles, man.
Yeah, I got integrity up on that Interpork station, and I've still got it. We're not doing this, fuck you. And John's like, guy, calm down. We'll take it. So they take the suitcase. President Sags leaves, and he goes down back to his motorcade, gets in his car. Who ends up throwing it out the window? Is it?
It's Poochie.
Poochie, right? Yeah, Poochie is like...
Poochie takes the money from Canyon and throws it out the window. Right whenever we see Jerry Sags down in the car has this little thing that says activate. And he presses the activate button to set the bomb off in the money briefcase.
And the money briefcase lands on the roof of his car, proving that he was going to kill them anyway, but kills himself.
Yeah.
And then in, I guess, what we're supposed to surmise as they know now that they're fugitives for killing the president, it just ends with the four of them, mother, daughter, John, and Mike Pucci, getting into what I thought was a space shuttle at first, but I guess that's the space truck, how they take off.
Yeah. I think it's the rig, yeah.
It's the rig, and they take off into the stars, and they're gonna, I don't know, start their own 2 guys, 2 girls fucking trucking
sex
company.
Commune.
Yeah, sex commune.
A setup for the inevitable Space Truckers 2.
Space Truckers 2, still trucking. Or the return of Captain Menudo, either way. All right, so that is 1996's or 7's or 9's, whatever. Space Truckers here on the Pint, December in the Stars, and no box office, so we're going to just skip that part. Let's rate this fucking thing.
That guy who spent 6 weeks in the bathroom got a 91.
All right, you know the drill. 0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scale optional. Let's start with Stu. Stu, what did you think of Space Truckers?
I don't want to disappoint or offend Patrick. I thought this movie, for all of its campiness, for how gleeful it took everything, and like you said, with Charles Dance's performance and Dennis Hopper being in it and everything, I thought this movie was surprisingly boring. It was a hard movie to not just want to play on my phone instead of watching this movie. I had a hard time following along. It has all this glorious campiness, but it's taking itself almost a little too seriously. Dennis Hopper doesn't seem to be having a blast. Charles Dance is playing it a little too straight. Stephen Dorff is Stephen Dorffing everything up. And it wasn't a wildly pleasant watch. And it's like 100 minutes long. It's a solid 15 minutes longer than it needs to be. So I clocked this in on Letterboxd as a 1-star movie. I did not love Space Truckers. I'm sorry. I can see what the appeal to it would be. I just thought, like, if you're going to be this campy and you're going to be a movie that cost $25 million, are you sure that's the budget? Because this movie looks like it came out in 1982 and cost $5 and a dream.
Unless it meant 25 million in Irish dollars, which I don't know the exchange. Yeah, I read that in multiple places.
Yeah, I just expected it to be more fun.
All right, that's fair. Patrick, we'll go over to you.
All right, first of all, Stu, never apologize for a sincere opinion. That's your take. That's fine. Please don't hate me. I'm going to give this a 2.75. I thought it was I love the production design for the most part. I thought it was too campy would have been too much. I think it had just the right amount of silliness, but it took itself a little seriously as well. I thought it was fairly well balanced in that regard. And if one actor had gone way over the top, that would have imbalanced the whole movie and made everyone else boring. I thought it was solid. I thought it was just a solid, fun adventure that I'll never watch again. But while watching it, it held my attention. I thought the androids looked cool.
The androids did look good. They were the best looking thing in the whole movie.
Yeah. I thought there was. And again, this is nothing new. Secret future corporation develops project that gets out of control. It's not breaking new ground here, but I did like just the little moments of kind of the blue collar future that they showed. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I give it 2.75. I'm sure I'll regret that. I'm sure I'll look back at that in 6 months and go, "What the fuck was I thinking?" But at this moment, that's what I get.
I'll check in on you. I'll
right.
do a 6-month Space Trucker checkup.
Please do.
A wellness check.
A wellness check on your Space Trucker review. I'll split the difference. I'm going to go 2.25. I think the production design is great in this movie. The androids look great. The idea of like little things like Interpork, like, square pigs. There was some cool costume designing in this thing. And yeah, 25 million does seem like a lot, but I read it in multiple places. If I'm wrong, I'll swallow that one, but it does seem like a bit much. The effects are, quote unquote special in a lot of places. Don't all look very good. Dennis Hopper and Stephen Dorff, who I both generally like, are both very flat in this, I think. Charles Dance, I do like in this, and I do like the fact that he did not go over the top. I like the fact that he's just playing this guy rather earnestly. I did like that. I agree with Stu to an extent. It kind of is a boring movie. Like, it just seems to hop from setup to them in space and then the pirates, and then all of a sudden this, like, massive action but kind of inaction ending. But it still had some lines that made me chuckle, some lines that I felt really weird. What's the line he says at the end for a rapist? Something he sure did die well.
Yeah. There was another line earlier where Menudo was about to get with Cindy, and he said something like, "Close your eyes and think of Brooklyn," which made me laugh. Really.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a couple lines I felt were pretty good in this. But yeah, overall, it's pretty forgettable. I get why it isn't well known and kind of forgotten to the annals of time, but I give it a 2.25. I didn't hate my time with it, but like Patrick said, I'll never watch it again. And I'm a little bit above where Stu is, but I see all of Stu's points, and I'm under Patrick, but I see Patrick's points. So, all right, that is, we'll just say 1996's Space Truckers. Continue on with us all December long, where we will be talking about space movies here and over on the Pint Insider on Patreon. Patreon/The Pint, $2.50 a month will get you usually 2 extra episodes a month. And you can hear people like Stu and Patrick jump in and help me out with those things quite often. All right, guys. Stu, what do you got going on in December on the website and on the show?
On the website, I am currently probably at this point done with, but I'm going through my ranking the franchise where I'm ranking the entire MCU, but I'm doing it by phase. So I'm ranking phase 1 worst to best, and I'm ranking phase 2 worst to best, and I'm doing all the way through to phase 5. And I am at this point in real life, I'll be gearing up to do all of my best and worst of articles for January, where it looks like I'll be doing a top 30 new release movies for 2024-25, a top 20 movies that I watched for the first time in 2025 that aren't new releases, and then a top 10 or bottom 10 worst movies of 2025, which I just saw. What did I see this weekend? After the Hunt. After the Hunt is going to be way down there in the bottom 10 list. That movie was terrible. Luca Guadagnino, the
Julia
guy
Roberts.
who did. Yeah, Julia Roberts is in it. Andrew Garfield is in it. It's directed by the guy who did Challengers last year. It's bad. It's real bad.
Okay. Patrick, have you read any more of the Dirk Pitt novels?
Fuck you.
All right.
No, I have not read any of it. I will at some point. That's the promise. By the end of the year, I will start the first book.
All right. Fair. I'll check back up with you on that. All right. So we're The Pint. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts, anywhere you find the Stu World Order, on iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever podcatcher you use. Check us out. And we're on Instagram at The Pint Pop. We have a YouTube channel, The Pint, a pop culture podcast. And other than that, see ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!